Clay. I want to thank you for all tuning in. Peace and blessings to my brothers and sisters out there who are tuning in. You can find me streaming on Facebook at That Clay Couple Counseling Services, also on Hassan Clay, my personal page, and also on YouTube at Hassan Naila Clay. You can also follow me on any social media platforms at hashtag That Clay Couple. So let's jump into the conversation for today. I've been having a lot of my clients male clients obviously, who've been talking to me about how to cope and deal with feminine, masculine energy, meaning women who really portray a lot of masculine energy. So one of the things I try to get them to understand is that men and women show up with masculine energy. It's not a situation where one has one and one has the other. Now, some of it might be a little bit prevalent in certain people, and those things, especially in women, well, in anybody, but we're talking about the masculine energy in women right now. One of three ways that this thing kind of shows up and how it becomes a little bit more dominant is, of course, social constructs or social cultivation of this situation, meaning that there's been certain things that really have made her be in a position of taking on these traits a lot more. And in some of this, we're going to look at it from two different ways, one of personal experiences and other of professional experiences. In the personal experience, there's been this cultivation where they've seen their mothers and their grandmothers be a particular way. And they had been more of a helpmate to their mothers in trying to keep a household going strong or keep certain things taking place within the household to where they had to be the substitute mother in a lot of times. So there is this boss lady type mentality that is already taking place well before she even gets into the professional realm. Right? Because she had to kind of take care and manage business. Let's say call it management at this point. We don't want to give it any negative connotations because the masculine energy that we say that's in women really isn't just a negative trait. And we have to start looking at it from a very broad outlook so we can have some better understanding about it. And I'm going to talk more about that a little later. But then we look at, she gets in relationships, she started having children. The man that she was with actually is not a person who is developed as a man. We don't want to say real men or real man because all men are real. Just all men are not developed. So we want to start changing these connotations and stop using the negative connotation as far as saying somebody's real, because the opposite of real is fake. And no man is fake. He's just underdeveloped in most instances. And this is why this podcast, Get Made, which is an acronym for manhood, accountability, development, enrichment. This is one of the key issues that we're trying to make sure that we adjust the crown of our brothers in order to start taking these rightful spots that they really need to take. So with that being said, we're looking at women who are in positions of a little bit more authority than they really want to be in or really strive to be in. Now, that's not to say that some women may not want to be in these positions. Some women have the personality to be this particular way. Not all women are like this, but some are. So, but those are some of the outlier situations. We're just talking about women who are now being cultivated based upon these personal experiences. And then you talk about the professional experience, because they have the personal experience of having to be the manager of their homes, having to have the head of household tag, different things in nature. They have to go into the workforce. And in order to rise in the workforce or to get more money in the workforce, they have to change positions. They have to elevate in their positions. They take on more responsibility at the job. this professional development that comes about is really a masculine energy within the workforce itself. So then they have to adapt to what it is that they are really facing in the workforce. Not saying that they really want to. I hear a lot of women who say, I really don't want to be in this position, but I have to, because if I don't, who's going to do it for me? Right? So now we get to the part where the thing men don't like, right? Because when she is in this element, sometimes it's hard to turn off. Sometimes, they try to turn it off, but you have to understand this thing has been on consistently, not just at work, but at home, not just at home, but when she was younger. This thing, the knob has been taken off of the off switch. You can turn that knob and you can turn it on and turn it off. Well, in some instances, the knob has been taken away and it's been set on. And we have to realize that as men, we have to realize that. And so when a man comes into the picture and he wants to assume the leadership position of his household and with his wife, maybe she has children that he comes into play with and they're going to have children, but he wants her to kind of take a back seat, pull back, peel back a little bit more. Do this so I can just be in my rightful position as a man. Well, okay, that genie is really out the bottle, bro. Right? That genie has really kind of, that ship has sailed. And so we have to then be a little bit more understanding of how she got there, how she is wanting to pull back, but just the habits of being the person that she is and being the person that she's been forced to be doesn't allow her to really be in a position of pulling back as quickly as you probably would like to see it take place. So let's look at how we as men can do something a little different. I know this has been a struggle for me for many years in dealing with this because, hey, I feel like I'm a man amongst men. Sometimes we all go around thinking that we alpha males. Some of us are alpha, some of us are beta, some of us are even sigma, right? But we're sitting here thinking that we're alpha males. I'm the leader. I'm this and I'm that. So she should get out the way. Let me do what I do, right? I've been in this same position for many years myself. But what was understanding for me, what was a good thing for me, as I then began to adjust. Again, we're talking about adjusting because we have to adjust. Just like she has to adjust to us and being in this position, we have to adjust to her. And we're talking about how to maintain balance in this situation. Sometimes they're a little too far over to the right, and sometimes we're a little bit too far over to the right as well. And that tends to be a mixture of some disaster that's getting ready to take place. We really have to set that thing in the middle. We have to get back to the middle. And so here's how, as your leadership develops, men, as your leadership develops, and as you continue to adjust to dealing with this woman of, I don't want to say this woman of today, because I'm going to be honest with you, within our construct, within our development within this country, this thing has been taking place for a couple of 100 years. This just didn't start within the last 10 or 15 years. It probably got a little worse within the last 30 years because things have escalated, things have sped up. A lot technology has changed. A lot of things is going on. More women are being in contact with each other than probably ever before. You got women all over the world now. That's just a click away from learning about other women. They have more exposure than they probably ever had before. So obviously it's going to be a lot. It's going to seem like a lot more is taking place. That's okay, bro. We're not going to be intimidated by that, because that's what happens when I hear men talking about masculine energy. What they're really talking about is how it can be somewhat intimidating. All right. Again, I want to adjust the crown on my brothers. It's okay. We okay. It's going to be all right. We can take that. And it's not something that's bad having some type of intimidation about a situation. That just means that you're not really quite sure, or you're not quite certain on how to deal with a situation. That's all that means. That doesn't mean you just scared of it, you shaking in your boots and all this old type of stuff here. That doesn't mean that at all. That just means that you're not quite sure on how to deal with it. And so when we're not sure, that will bring about a sense of fear. And what we try to do is meet that fear and meet that fear by being hyper masculine at this point. So we trying to out masculine a woman who's not a man at all. And so then, because she feels like, okay, he's trying to put me down, he's trying to squash my voice, he's trying to do that, then she amps up a little bit more. Actually, at that point, you're actually catching more of her feminine energy than masculine energy. Feminine energy doesn't mean she's just going to just be docile. She's just going to be submissive to where she's a coward and all this other type of stuff here. She's still going to be in a position of self-preservation. She still has to protect herself. And when she feel a threat that's taking place, then she's going to be in a position of having to protect herself. I need my brothers to understand this piece, because if we understand this piece right here, we probably got this thing kind of lit, because here what comes after that. After we have this understanding about where she's coming from, how she got there, what's really taking place with her, then we can start communicating a lot better. That's number two. We can communicate with her. We can express ourselves. We can have complete conversations. We can have a start, a middle, and an end. It doesn't mean the conversation then has to be an argument, because at that point, you as a man are giving over to your feminine energy. And that's not where because at this point, you become a combative. You're thinking you got to stand up for a particular situation. Well, you don't have to prove yourself at all. You just have to say what you mean and mean what you say. And if there's need to be some clarity about that, then give the clarity. But also, the key element about communication is listening. We have to be better listeners. Communication isn't always about the talk. It's more about the listen. And if you then listen, then you can understand the situation better. Then you can come up with the right formula, because men, we're fixers really just by nature anyway. We're going to come up with the right formula. We're going to try to get with her. We're going to, hey, look, does this work for you? When this shows up like this, can this work for you? Right? Because this is what will work for me. And then you start finding the balance. Then you start getting towards the middle and back to the middle. And then that comes about with this third one, how you are then able to adapt. And that's one of the things that as men, we're not becoming flexible enough. Look, those traditional roles that we've been taught and we've been thought of, it's been thought of, and these things that we've been told that needs to take place, they don't work. They're not working today, because you're dealing with somebody who's not really on those traditional roles. Would she like to be in a traditional setting? Sure. But in many instances, not all, but in many instances, she shows up the way she's been conditioned to show up. And you have to learn how to adapt to that, and then learn how to cultivate that to be able to say, hey, this is how we can work within our relationship. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to take whatever you say into consideration. I want to give it some thought. I want to be able to reflect on it. And I want to be able to then bring it back to a way that, hey, we can make this thing work. And that's number 4. We have to change our mindset about our women and the way that they have been cultivated. We can't look at them as the enemy. They're not our enemy, even though they have been placed in certain positions to be combative with us. They're not our enemy, and we're not their enemy. And we have to then continue to remind them, hey, look, when it gets out of control, because a lot of times this masculine energy that men are talking about, it really comes from something that you think of a woman as being disobedient. She's not heeding to what it is that you're saying. She's not taking in what it is that you're trying to put down, and all these other type of things here, which is true. And some of it might be true, but the problem that really is faced in that is that they don't have quite a good understanding of what it is that you are actually trying to put down. You're looking at it from a position of, I'm the man and you should follow my lead, when they've been leading themselves and they've been taught to lead themselves for a very long time. And so in that, you have to be in a position now, my brothers, we're talking about adjusting our crown, because we're putting our crowns on, we're making sure that we keep our crowns on, right? You have to be in a position of saying, hey, look, let me look at this thing from a different perspective. Let me reflect on how I'm looking at this. And don't let me, and I don't want to be caught up in the emotions of what I'm looking at, because that's what happens. Again, that's when that transfers of energy take place. When we talking about she's having this masculine energy, when we start trying to have this hyper masculine energy, only thing we're doing is coming out with a little bit more feminine energy and the emotions and the impulses that we then start trying to engage with and trying to enact at that point. And so I want us to really look at how we're taking a step back. We're reflecting on the situation. If we are wrong about a situation, hey, coming back and saying, hey, look, I may have got that wrong. Let me look at this a little differently. Let me look at you a little differently. You're not my enemy. You know, you're my friend, you're my wife, you're my girl, you're my lover, you're my partner, whatever the terms that you want to use in this society that we live in. All that, you are my other half. And we have to start looking at that and then start saying, hey, we're going to be okay. We're going to be all right. We just got to do something a tad different. And I want to show you how to do something different by being the first to start enacting something different. This is when you start taking on real leadership within your home. This is when you start grabbing the tools and you start talking about, I'm being accountable for what's really taking place. I want to develop myself into a better person, and I want to be enriched with the tools to be able to do that. This is what Get Made is all about. So with that being said, if y'all have any comments, please leave them below. I love to hear what you have to say. If you have anything that you would like for me to speak on, by all means, hit me in the inbox with it, or let me know what it is, even on my page. Let me know what it is that you would like to hear me talk about. I'm here to help my brothers. I'm also looking at now starting a Get Made page that's going to be exclusively for men. Sorry, sisters, but we got to have some spaces where we can be with each other and be able to talk to one another without trying to be in a position of our women saying, yeah, brother, get them. Yeah, brother, speak that, whatever, right? Even if within our counseling sessions, when we have our individual sessions, I don't do it in front of my wife when we have counseling sessions, or if I have something to say to a brother, I say, hey, look, sis, if you don't mind, can me and a brother have a conversation one-on-one? Because at the end of the day, he is still a man. And I want to be able to respect him as a man. And in that, learning how to respect him, he respects himself, and then he can respect you. And then you, in turn, will be able to respect him. So we need these spaces to be able to have these conversations with each other and sharpen each other. So be prepared for that. Please let me know when if y'all have anything that you want to be spoken about, want to be talk on, and I definitely would love to hear you. It was great you guys being here. Again, this podcast is going to be every Monday at 4:00. Please stay tuned. Please be be in attendance. Please subscribe. Please do all things. Please share. Do all these things. And I would love to, again, see you guys in the coming weeks. Thank you.